What's up, YouTube? I am back, and it feels really good to be back because today we are reviewing the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I have my Mandalorian gear on, and we're gonna try and do it all in one take because honestly, there's not that much to review. I don't even think there's really any spoilers because not a lot happened. Gonna be honest, it was a really disappointing first outing for something as big budget as Disney can put out, Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, all that. First episode, my initial verdict was boring and disappointing, which really hurts to say because I have been a Star Wars fan forever, and I've been a Boba Fett fan forever, ever since I was a little kid. He was, if not my favorite, one of my favorite characters. He's my favorite character now. But the episode really lacking in a lot of ways. Didn't really do much for the character of Boba Fett, in my opinion. But we'll go ahead and get into a little more specific as to why it was boring and disappointing. So the episode kicks off with Boba Fett in a bacta tank, a healing tank, and he starts having flashbacks, and that carries through about the first 10-12 minutes of the episode. He has flashbacks to his time in the Sarlacc pit. He has flashbacks to when the Sand People captured him, the Tusken Raiders captured him, and were probably about to sell him into slavery. So he goes back and forth, kind of in and out of consciousness. And right away, that was a good part. Honestly, liked it a lot. Him being in the Sarlacc was really creepy and terrifying, and I loved it. Really good scene, and whenever he finally busts out of the sand and escapes, that's a really good start, and I was interested from right then and there. However, it went downhill pretty quick after that. We get these cool flashback scenes, and obviously Fett is older in this series, and it's not really clear why he's in the healing tank. It could be for any number of reasons. Now, back in the expanded universe, Fett has cancer, and he kind of dictates his actions trying to find a cure for his cancer throughout the expanded universe. But with that kind of moved to the side, to say the least, we don't really know why Fett is sick. He doesn't say why he's sick or in the healing tank, and nobody else says why. But obviously he's more advanced in age, and you can tell that he's been all scarred up from his battles and his time in the Sarlacc pit, and the makeup job was pretty awesome. You can see like all the scarring on his chest that they put in and all that stuff. So really good on that note. But after that, we're taken from the healing tank into a tribute scene, and he's all geared up. He's got his helmet on finally, and he's back to being himself. And all of these different characters are paraded in front of him, and they offer him tributes and money and praise and all this stuff. And I just had to wonder why. I really wondered why the entire scene was taking place. I mean, I get it to a point that he's taken over Jabba's empire, and he's just immediately inserted himself into this whole massive crime operation. But I mean, wow, was it boring. That's where I started thinking that there was going to be some issues, because it was just Fett sitting on a chair and talking, and the people coming through, all of the different alien races, all of the other crime lords, whatever they were, I didn't care. I just really didn't. Then an emissary from the mayor shows up, the mayor of the town, And he starts making all these veiled threats and stuff towards Fett. And I really just wondered what the point of it was. I mean, I get that they're trying to set up some sort of political intrigue, but I don't know. Time will tell on that note. I just didn't really care for it. But after our sitting and talking scene, we are taken to a walking and talking scene where Fett goes out with his guards and Fennec Shand, and he goes to some club, essentially, and talks to the boss of the club, who's a Twi'lek. Not really much happens there, if I'm being honest. It's just more walking and talking. Then, whenever Fett is leaving the club with his entourage, they are ambushed by some parkour ninjas with blaster reflecting shields or blaster repellent shields, whatever. But they've got shields and sticks, and they surround Fett and Fennec Shand and proceed to try to either capture them or kill them. I'm not really sure. These are like electro spears, kind of like what the Gamorrean guards, kind of like what the Magna Guards used in episode 3 around General Grievous. They're basically the same thing from what I gathered. The fight scene was okay. I'm gonna be honest, these parkour ninjas surround Fett and Fennec only, from what I could tell initially, and they pop up their shields and they just box them in. And this is why I think they were trying to capture them, because they box them in and they just basically don't allow them to leave. I think they're trying to wear them down because Fett and Fennec are supposedly presented as better fighters, but they're outnumbered, and so they just have to whittle them down through sheer attrition, I guess. But the more I watched the scene unfold, the more I thought, Boba Fett is the only character in this scene with a jetpack, and he doesn't use it. Yes, character famous for having a jetpack does not use it to fly around his enemies and shoot them in the back. So I just watched this whole thing unfold, and like, the more it drug on, it just wasn't doing it for me. So pretty unfortunate. Now, what I think they're trying to set up with that is that Fett's health is failing, and he's not a precision fighter anymore. He's just a brawler, which I kind of liked, to be honest. He just is beating these dudes senseless. And of course, he wants at least one of them alive to garner some sort of information as to why they're attacking him. And then he gets injured, and his guards come and save him. And then the formation of these parkour ninjas breaks up, and they run away, and Fett kills a couple of them, the guards kill a couple, and then Fennec starts chasing two of them over the rooftops of Mos Espa, which is, I think, the city they're in. And she kills one, captures the other, and as she captures the last guy, Fett is shown being brought back to his healing tank and immediately thrown into his healing tank by his Gamorrean guards. And as he passes out in the healing tank, we're dropped back into a flashback of his time with the Tusken Raiders, who I'm not really sure what, obviously they're a different tribe of Tusken Raiders because their tunics and their headdresses and a lot of their jewelry is different from other Tusken Raiders we've seen before. They wear a lot of black tunics, black headpieces, black masks. Their weapons are basically similar. They've got the same dog type creatures, but their attire is different. So I don't know if we're gonna learn more about that as the series continues. I'm sure we will, because by the end of the episode, Fett has basically secured a place as a useful asset to these Tusken Raiders. He saves a young one from this 6-armed sand creature thing. Again, really not a lot going on with that. I'm interested because whenever we meet up with Boba Fett in the Mandalorian series, he is wearing the black tunic that these Tusken Raiders have. He's carrying Tusken weapons, all of these things, and we start to wonder, why or how he has all of this equipment. And it's sort of answered in the Mandalorian because he loses his armor, and then we're shown that at the beginning of his series. We're shown him losing his armor whenever the Jawas come and steal it, and then it's acquired by Cobb Vanth later on in the Mandalorian series. But there's just that little blank space where we go from Beskar armor to Tusken Raider attire, and then back into his traditional setup. But again, I'm not really interested in that, if I'm being completely honest. I don't really care why he wears Tusken Raider tunics whenever he's walking around. It would just be the most efficient thing in my mind in a very arid desert climate, because we know that, because that's real life for a lot of people. So again, really, really boring. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. The good things don't outweigh the bad things in the series either, unfortunately. It's just slow. And a lot of Disney Plus series, a lot of, whether it's Marvel or Star Wars now, they're guilty of having a slow start, like a slow burn kind of thing. I saw it with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki. The first episodes are these just big chunks of time, but there's not a lot happening. It's like characters talking about nothing, essentially. It's talking about stuff that we already know about or we don't care about. Like, it's just poorly executed. I mean, it might look good on paper, but it was very poorly executed. And Lucasfilm should have understood this from their time with Attack of the Clones, because 3/4 of that movie was sitting around and talking, or walking and talking. And every Star Wars fan knows how well that movie was received and how high of a pedestal that movie's put on. But anyway, there's really not much else to discuss when it comes to the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I was very disappointed overall. The good things, though, I love seeing Tamora Morrison back. I mean, he plays the best Boba Fett a Star Wars fan could ask for. I'm really interested to see where he takes the character, or where he goes with the character. But other than that, everybody else, other than Fennec Shand, all of the characters were expendable, one-time use characters. I don't even know if we're going to see any of them again. We don't see the mayor of Mos Espa, who basically threatened Fett through a proxy servant. So I don't know if we'll see either of those two again. I'm sure we will, because Fett's going to have to deal with it at some point. But again, they're not memorable characters. They're just they're expendable. I'm sure Fett is going to kill this little proxy servant who insulted him at some point. I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. But hopefully episode 2 will be a little more entertaining, a little more interesting, and answer a lot of the questions that I presented, or a lot of my gripes and grievances. If they're wrapped up in episode 2 or 3, then maybe I can forgive, or we can forgive, the slow start of episode 1. Because again, a lot of Disney Plus series do this, and ends up they pick up later and they start pulling you in, and you just have to give them a chance and hang with them through the first couple, and then end up being a little more satisfied at the end. But time will tell, we will see. Thank you very much for checking out the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below as to what you liked or did not like regarding the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, and maybe we can talk about it again when episode 2 comes out. Until then, be sure to like the video, and I will see you later.